What's going on, guys? Today's going to be a follow-up to my recent transformation video. I'll be addressing common questions, answering how and why I got shredded and what the many side effects were. So before we get started, let me first say that I really appreciate your support. You're the reason why I got through this. It was the hardest thing I've ever done diet-wise, but I just kept thinking about the viewers, setting an example, showing you what's possible, and your amazing comments and feedback throughout the entire journey kept me sane. Because at one point, I was quite literally losing my mind. And so having a community of real naturals who care about each other, who care about being the best versions of themselves, always learning more and more, being honest, critical thinkers that love the fitness lifestyle for not only the aesthetic and strength benefits, but the longevity that it offers. Having guys like you that are the real deal means the world. And that's the only reason why I do this. It's not for me, never has been, it's for you. And I'm gonna keep giving you the content you deserve because you really do deserve it. I can't stress that enough. So thank you so much, every single one of you. I read all your comments, your DMs. Man, we built something beautiful. And we're gonna keep strengthening that. So now I wanna get vulnerable with you guys and talk about everything. This was something else. Something that I never thought I was gonna pull off this effectively. Like, I went from 185 pounds, full on bear mode, stacked to the max, to 146 death mode. To the point where I'm not even flexing. I could see my obliques, my abs popping out, all the veins, the cuts. It was crazy, bro. And that did come at a cost. So let's go over everything right now. First, with the muscle measurements. I shrank big time. You have to understand that bodybuilding is nothing more than an illusion. Sure, you'll look bigger when you're flexing. You got the shirt off, you're pumped up. Okay, cool. But how do you look like in normal clothes? You're floating. From your pants to your t-shirts to your outerwear, everything. Here's what I mean. My arms went from 16.5 inches, actually a little bit above that, to 15 inches. The smallest they've ever been as an adult. Chest from 46 inches to 43. Legs 25 inches to 23 inches. Glutes 40 inches to 37 inches. Waist 34.5 to 28, which I'm really happy about because I genetically am a little bit wider there, so that's pretty darn good. And then the worst of all, the neck, 17 inches to 15-inch pencil neck status. It's embarrassing for someone like me who got known for neck training and popularized it, but it is what it is. If you shred down naturally, you're not having bigger muscle measurements, nor will you maintain what you previously had in a fluffier state. Single digit is not the same as being lean. Please keep that in mind. So overall, I'm a lot smaller now. And some of you have pointed that out. Others think I look bigger. So let this be a lesson that you cannot grow into a show. And even though I didn't compete, which I low-key regret not signing up for a competition, the same principles apply. I got the single-digit body fat. I'm gonna guess around 9%. I don't know the exact amount. And the side effects were losing muscle tissue, actual muscle. It's not just fat. And then in regards to strength, surprisingly did okay. It was mostly pressing performance that went down and lower body posterior chain, like the glutes and the hamstrings. Everything else is in a great position, which truly surprised me. It's very fascinating how some areas can lose more than others. I don't know how that plays out, but it's something to know regardless. Now, you may be wondering, Alex, why did you get shredded in the first place if you knew this was going to be the final outcome? Very simple answer. I had nothing left to lose. What was I building up towards all these years? A 405 bench, and I got it in 2021, May. That was basically the ultimate natural achievement. By that point, I was so fluffy and satisfied that I didn't see any other option other than to get extremely aesthetic. And I thought to myself, why not push the boundaries once and for all? I got all my strength goals besides the weighted pull-up, and if anything, that should be easier to achieve when in a leaner state. And coincidentally, I did do 175 pounds recently and 6 one-arm pull-ups. So I thought, man, so what if I lose some size and performance? If I can now demonstrate once and for all what happens to a real lifetime natural that's been training for over a decade, what happens when that individual with elite performance cuts down to single digit? That's what I wanted to find out. And it wasn't necessarily for me, it was for the community. It was a sacrifice. I was willing to leave everything behind for the greater good, just like I did in 2020 when global events happened and I stopped lifting weights despite having this amazing home gym. It was the same thing here. So I went for it. Instead of cutting down to the usual 160, which is an excellent weight, by the way, I pushed it further. And during that process, I learned a lot more about myself and dieting as a whole and experienced some things that were truly gruesome. And that's what I want to talk about right now. The side effects of it all. And was it worth it? So, it should first be noted that most of the cut went really well. Didn't lose much size or strength, and I felt absolutely amazing. Things only got really difficult towards the last 2 months when I went below my initial lean weight. So being in the 150s and then the 140s was that next level. That time frame almost destroyed me. Physically and psychologically, I was a complete mess. And it mostly has to do with the calorie reduction. See, I was plateaued at 2,000 calories a day. I was no longer losing weight. So I had to go below that, starting at 1,800. And I milked that for a little bit until, guess what? It stopped working. And I don't believe in fad diets. It's calories in versus calories out. So I dropped even further, 1,500 calories a day. And I felt like absolute garbage, despite getting all my micronutrients and being really high on the protein as well, because I was trying to preserve my muscle mass as much as possible, even though that is overhyped. So with such a low amount of food in my system, a lot of horrible things started happening to me. And that's really what I want to talk about in today's video. The most notable being crazy insomnia every single night. Guys, I'm not one to have difficulties falling asleep, but over the last few weeks, this has been the worst sleep of my entire life. Going to bed almost every day at 5:30 in the morning. Even if I wake up early, I still couldn't fall asleep. I tried eating before bed. I tried doing everything in my power, taking melatonin, 10 milligrams a day. ZMA, you name it. I was not able to sleep, guys. I was going crazy. And even my sleep itself was broken. It's almost like the body's saying, you're only going to bed once you feed your starving ass. And by refusing to do so, this is the punishment. So you really suffer through this. Which also led to another side effect. Having the lowest energy in my entire life. And I literally mean it when I say this. I do not recall any period of my existence on this planet of being so brain dead. My personality morphed. I could not think properly. I felt like I dropped 10 IQ points. The ability to speak and pair unique ideas, making videos for you guys. I often had to re-record my segments because they were so terrible. And the overall way that I felt. My eyes were droopy. I started talking like this, very monotone. I wasn't able to express myself, Sometimes I would have experiences when I would film. I'd be able to ramp myself up for a good 10 minutes, but after that, I would just crash throughout the rest of the day. That was basically me every day, living like an actual zombie. And I don't ever want to experience that again. And I don't wish that for any of you guys. I really tried my best to be energetic, had extra caffeine, monitored my program accordingly. Nothing worked. I just couldn't function correctly, and my workout suffered as well. My work capacity especially, even though you would think, oh, you're lighter, you can probably do more cardiovascular wise. That's not the case because you just burn out, not from a breathing standpoint, but your energy just zaps away. It's like a battery that cannot restore to 100% capacity. You only go up to 50%. It's like when you have degraded armor in an MMORPG. That is exactly how I would compare it to. And so this often resulted in only doing 2 sets for a compound movement. The third would be too difficult. My reps would drop drastically, and that's not normal. This is something that goes beyond regular programming and rest intervals. Therefore, volume had to be dropped. and I gravitated towards lifting heavier weights since it was the only thing I could realistically handle, even though I had all kinds of fatigue. So that's what it was like on a day-to-day basis and working out. Now, another thing I experienced was extreme coldness, to the point where I put all my heaters on to 30 degrees Celsius, every single one of them in each room. And even that wasn't enough. I had to wear a long sleeve top and gloves indoors. So I'd be on the computer with winter gloves on. And I'm a guy that usually sleeps naked. This was no longer the case. I was freezing. I have 2 covers on, had to wear socks with a long sleeve top. And I never woke up sweating, just to say. So my body was extremely cold. And for the first time in my life, I had low blood pressure. I bought a machine. I monitored it. Bro, it's below 110/70. That is not good. So I think I might have made myself anemic by eating this way. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not a medical professional in this regard. And for those who are going to ask about hormones, what about your testosterone levels? I don't know. I never got a testosterone test done, and I don't really care to do so. However, what I will say is that from a sex drive standpoint, it was severely diminished. But I was surprisingly still okay. The only thing is, I didn't have that killer instinct, the ability to pull the trigger, and I wasn't aggressive in any type of way. Very passive, mushy moosh. And so I would only get urges about once a week, and they weren't very strong. So I think if I would have lost a little bit more weight, maybe getting to 140 pounds or the point where you have shredded glutes in the 130s, then it would have been game over completely. But I'm lucky that didn't happen. Next, and this kind of goes back to the low blood pressure thing, I passed out for the first time in my life. Yeah, the doorbell rang. I walked over to it feeling all dead and got my delivery, closed the door. Next thing you know, I wake up maybe 15 minutes later on my back with a big bump in the back of my head. I don't remember anything, guys. All I know is that I fainted. And that was my only experience having that. And it really shocked me. I was like, damn, what am I doing to myself? It really made me reevaluate my entire life, because I thought of it like I could have died, man. Like literally hit my head, but somehow I woke up okay. And could we say that it was perhaps neck training that was the savior in all this? Is it possible? Because I like to believe that my neck and traps gave me that cushion. That's what I like to think. Because these are hard tiles. And where I fell, there was even a groove. You know the entrance where you have the little marble thingy? That's what I fell on. And literally backwards like this. So I'm standing up, I close the door, boom. So that was really scary, and I hope that never happens to me again. Anyway, how about we talk about food now? As you know, there's been a lot of holidays over the last couple months. And when I go over to people's houses and they offer me stuff, I had to be that douchebag that said no. It was hell. Or if I did eat, it was a super small amount, and I would always go home hungry. And oftentimes, because that was a cheat meal by design, it would put my calories at their limit. So I would only be able to eat a really low calorie meal and therefore never be satisfied. And beyond those little events, you're never satisfied, period. You're hungry 24/7. Even on a high protein diet, which is exactly what I followed. I was consuming excessive amounts, way more than a human being would possibly ever need. I was still hungry. I was overloading my vegetables. I cannot tell you how many salads I had in a single day or throughout the week. Lost count. But I did measure everything. And I ate the same boring, unpalatable foods every day. What happens is, you just get used to it. You're 80% full, as the Okinawans would say. But you never have that feeling where your gut is about to explode. Or like, wow, that was a really good meal. It's just, you're eating to live type thing. And the consequence of that is, you develop extreme discipline, which is actually a benefit that I'm happy about, because I feel like moving forward, it's going to be easier to say no to certain things or be able to portion myself, because as a serious lifter, I've always had a massive appetite. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Now I can stop myself, whereas in the past, it would have been easy for me to give in. So that is cool, but it certainly wasn't fun when you're already not consuming a large amount of calories. So For anyone who's trying to get shredded, know that even if your diet is literally perfect, and I did follow the advice of Greg Doucette, by the way, which I'm also very thankful for his videos. Without his content on competitive dieting, I think it would have been hard for me to get shredded, because he gave me substitutions that I could consume which are equivalent grams wise, but provide way less calories. And one of those things was the popcorn, but there's also so many other things that I highly recommend if you check out his videos. So I did all that, and it was certainly really helpful, more than I could have possibly ever imagined, but it's not enough. At the end of the day, you will feel like garbage. There's no way around it, and you won't be satisfied hunger-wise. So it is what it is. Oh, another thing about food, you get a heightened sense of smell. And when you do consume something that is tasty, wow, does it taste good. Like, basic food is that much more enjoyable. Anyway, those are the major side effects that I don't believe are uncommon. I think a lot of you who go down the shredded path will likely experience that as well. And so, in my right mind, I would say that most lifters should not get shredded. Nothing wrong with being lean, but single digit is a completely different ball game, and you won't feel your best. Just stop watching fake natties who say, oh, this is perfectly fine, you can do it all the time. I think they're either liars or they're on so much stuff that it doesn't make a difference to them. This isn't the ideal way to be year-round. And so, answering another question, was it worth it? I would have to say yes, because it confirmed what I already knew. My messages from the past were correct. Maybe some little areas I was off, in the sense that you could look amazing while shredded naturally, but that also requires you to be really buff in the first place. Like, if I would have done this 5 years ago, I think I would have looked really stringy at this weight. But because I had all this muscle packed on, I was able to pull off the look. So I was wrong that you can't look aesthetic. That's absolutely untrue. You will look amazing at single digit, but it's just, it comes with the feelings of not being the best. Thus, I have no regrets about this experience. Bulked half the year, got shredded in the other half. And I got to make a transformation video that shows realistically what happens when a natural goes from being fluffy to single digit, and all the side effects that comes along with that. I was able to speak from my own experience, not theory. That is priceless. What I gained from this as an individual, growing and helping out the community, doing this for the greater good. So I would not take anything back, even though I did suffer a lot. And with that said, there's not much else to say. If you have any more questions, please post them down below. And stay tuned for maybe another video where I talk more about this. And I'm going to be referring back to my transformation for a very long time, because I do think it's made a mark in the fitness world. So that's it, guys. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for supporting me. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.